Welcome into Saints Postgame Live. I'm Erin Summers, joined by former Saints linebacker Scott Shanle. Unfortunately, we do have a loss to talk about here as the Packers came back from down 17 to win this one 18-17 over the Saints. Scott, off the top, how different was the first half and the second half for the Saints?
Oh, extremely. It was night and day, and it shows you just how quick games in the NFL can change. You have the best athletes in the world, and all it takes is a little bit of momentum. It takes one play, and you kind of sense that as the game went along. Obviously, there was a big play in the game with losing your starting quarterback for the Saints, and you just felt like the air in the entire team kind of deflated. You were just kind of trying to hold on for a win, and when you do those things started to unravel.
Quarterback Derek Carr did go down with an injury early in the third quarter of play. He was ruled out with a shoulder injury, so we will await the actual designation there, what that injury is. Did change things. Momentum definitely turned over to Green Bay's side. Let's check in with John DeShazier, who is there in Green Bay.
Well, Erin, as much like Scott said, I mean, when you lose your quarterback, that takes a big blow out of the team, and you're up 17-0 at the time, and now you're trying to hold on, and you really feel like you can turn it over to that defense, especially 17-0 in the second half, 17-0 starting the fourth quarter, and the defense simply didn't get it done. They didn't get the stops that they needed to. One touchdown drive, you get a couple of defensive penalties in the backfield, and the next drive, just a straight-up touchdown. And those things you want to be able to avoid, especially when you have the type defense that you feel like you can close out games with. And unfortunately for the Saints, you don't close out the game, so you don't win the game, and you lose your starting quarterback, and that's a tough blow to take on the road. As you mentioned, we don't know how long Derek Carr's injury is going to take or what his designation is, but we do know, obviously, that he left the field. Reports are he went to the local hospital, so we'll have to see what happens with him later on. But, really a kind of a devastating thing to lose your quarterback and lose the game because you can't hold on. And here comes Coach Dennis Allen to the podium.
Okay. Look, give the Packers credit. They made the plays they need to make. I thought second half, too many explosives, penalties down the field, which I thought, ended up costing us in the game. So we've got to get in more. We've got to make the corrections, and we've got to learn from this, and we've got to get better from it.
There was a report that Carr was taken to a hospital.
He's being examined for something with his shoulder.
Which shoulder was it?
Right, I think.
Is there anywhere you can tell us about what they're looking for? Is it broken?
No, I don't know. I don't know. They're doing an evaluation. I think it's X-rays. I haven't heard yet. So.
When you hear a local hospital that sounds bad, does that mean that there's something else?
He's being evaluated. I can't tell you really any more than that. It's a shoulder injury. He's being evaluated. When we know what it is, we'll let you know. I haven't asked the question. We just got off the field, so.
Is there anything about the approach when you guys are up on C-17?
No, I don't think so. I just don't think we executed as well as we should have, and I think they did. So that's really what it was. Yeah, I thought Jameis did fine stepping in. We'll have to look at the tape and really go back and evaluate where he was. But I look, overall, I'm just gonna say, like, it wasn't good enough for any of us. So I'm not pointing anybody individually out. I'm just saying, as a team, we weren't good enough. We got to be better than that, particularly in the second half.
I apologize. On those back-to-back PI calls, did you have a problem with either one of those calls, or did you think?
I didn't have a great view of it, so I couldn't comment on it.
Even with
One of them, the one on, I think it was Alante, I wasn't sure that I agreed with that one. So.
Even when Derek was in the first half, are you guys not getting like consistent protection?
Yeah, I think it needs to be better. And for whatever reason, we got to figure that out. Particularly, early in the game. So I think that's something that we've got to improve and we've got to get better at. We knew that this was a team that could rush the passer.
Did you have any idea where he's at to kind of just get that started faster?
Say it again.
Do you have any idea? Can you put your finger on maybe why it isn't starting?
No, well, look, there's a couple of them where we just got beat early. and so we'll have to keep looking at what are we doing technique-wise, what are we teaching, are we teaching the right things, but certainly that's an area that we've got to get better at that because it's not been good enough.
Obviously not trying to pinpoint one moment in the game, but when you decided to pass over the 55-yard field goal.
Yeah. Look, I felt like at that moment in the game, I felt like that was the right call. The way we were playing, the moment in the game, turns out that those points right there could have been a big deal. But everybody's got the ability to look back and see how it ended and question what you did. But I thought that was still the right decision.
And what specifically do you think changed for the secondary in particular? Obviously, not having a lot of success earlier than they started.
No, look, they started taking their shots down the field, and they converted a couple. They got a couple of PI calls, which created some, flip the field, and I thought that was really kind of the difference.
Is this worse significantly there? How confident are you Jameis with this team?
Yeah, look, I'm confident in our football team. We stumbled today. We'll learn from it. We'll get better from it. And we'll keep going.
How would you describe how Derek was as he was leaving? Did you get a chance to talk to him at all?
Yeah, look, he was, frustrated. He was hurt. So, and then they took him in the medical tent and, told me he'd be out for the game, which, and so they said they were taking him to get some evaluation, and then we'll see where that goes.
Were you frustrated at all with the spirit of the team seemed to be affected once the game?
No, I don't think that was it at all. Once they kind of got the momentum, it was hard for us to try to get it flipped. And I don't know that we ever really did. All right, guys, thanks.
Jameis Winston will be in Shanle right now, and then the locker room's up in right now.
And that was head coach Dennis Allen. He did say that quarterback Derek Carr is being evaluated at a local hospital for a right shoulder injury. So, of course, we will continue to follow up on that as we get more information. I don't know if the injury to Carr was entirely what became the problem as the game went on, although it did change things in the Saints' ability to move the ball offensively. The Saints defense gave up 18 second-half points.
Yeah, I think that's where I know as a defensive player, those guys are going to look in the mirror and say, we had enough points on the board to win the game. And you're going to take that personal responsibility. What the defensive guys won't say is a little bit of air came out of the balloon. When you see your starting quarterback walk to the tent and you see your starting quarterback leaving the field to get evaluated, there's a little bit of looking farther down the road than you should. And it's human nature. You're worried about the game, and all the players will say we're worried about right now. But you're thinking, if he's out for the year, how does that change? And once you start to get doubt like that in your mind, it changes things. So I think a little bit of the momentum, the little bit of the swagger that the team had at that point was kind of lost, just seeing Derek walk off the field. But the defense is good enough to keep Green Bay from scoring any more points. The offense just converting first downs, and I think it shows you what a lack of a running game, where that importance of a running game comes in. Because when you're up 17-0 and you can't run the ball, you're not moving the chains, you're not getting first downs. That really was the name of the game in the fourth quarter, is just not being able to convert third downs.
The Saints only had 77 rushing yards total, and that's not going to cut it. They have gotten a little over 100 in the first two games. It just seems like they're really missing running back Alvin Kamara.
Yeah, explosive plays. You hear Dennis talked about it in the post-game interview. Where did the game change? The explosives. The explosive plays started to show up. Green Bay, whether Jordan's Love legs or just taking shots, getting pass interference, explosive plays change the dynamic of a game, and especially when you get him in the running game. Alvin Kamara is going to fix a lot of those things, just his home run ability. But you have to control the line of scrimmage. No matter who's back there, you have to be able to move people off the ball at their will. You haven't seen that in the first three games, but I think having Alvin Kamara back there, just his elusiveness, maybe throwing more screens. You haven't seen a whole lot of screens with this Saints offense in the first 3 weeks. I do think any team would be happy to have 41 back, and I think he will help the running game immensely.
I think he'll definitely help give them another option, not only as a rusher, but somebody who can get in the backfield and create through the air as well. The offensive line, you mentioned the line of scrimmage. They allowed 4 sacks for the third game in a row, and it was a sack that obviously took Derek Carr out of the game. How can they fix the protection there? Cesar Ruiz, also their right guard, went out with a concussion early in the game. So have some injuries there, have some young players with left tackle Trevor Penning, but what can they do to continue to move that area forward?
Yeah, there's no doubt. I think anybody who's watched the first 3 games would say the offensive line needs to play better. I think losing Cesar, he signed an extension before the season started, but his backup is Andres Pete. And Andres Pete's played a lot of football, and it's not a bad backup to have. A lot of people, Andres would probably be starting for them. It shows you the depth this offensive line has, but no matter how much depth you have, when you're one of the starting 5 out there on the field, you have to be able to get it done. And right now in the run game, like I said, they're not moving people. They're not moving the line of scrimmage and allowing those run lanes to happen. And in the pass game, if you're not going to run block, hopefully you're pass blocking a little bit. But everything really, it sounds exhausting, but it does go back to when you run the football well, it allows you to set up play action pass. It allows you to take those shots downfield. Because right now, the teams that we're playing are like, you're averaging 2 yards a carry. We're just going to pin our ears back and rush the passer. And I think that's why you're seeing so much pressure on the passers, because defensive lines are not worried about the run game.
Right, and they don't have time. Derek Carr did not have time at all, especially when you're sitting on 3rd and long. Those plays take a little bit longer to develop to get to his receivers. When Jameis Winston did come in, how would you assess what he was able to do at quarterback?
I think there's a ton of teams in the NFL that would love to have Jameis Winston as their option to come in the game. Nobody wants to lose their starting quarterback, but Jameis has played a ton of football. This guy's put up some astonishing numbers when he was in Tampa Bay. He was doing some good things for the Saints when, at one time the Saints were like, this is our future quarterback, and he was doing good things until he sustained an injury. So I think this offense right now has been kind of clunking along. There's plays there, but I think when you look at what this Saints offense can do and what they've been able to do so far is the explosive plays down the field. That is Jameis Winston. Jameis Winston loves to air the ball out. He's got an extremely strong arm. And going back to the running game, if you can just get that going a little bit, I think Jameis is going to be fine. Hopefully Derek's not out for a long period of time, but if Derek Carr's out, I think Jameis Winston and what his strengths are fit to what the strengths are of this team on the outside at the wide receiver position.
I mean, there were a lot of commentators, analysts out there that were saying the Jets should go and get Jameis Winston. Yeah. So he is definitely not just a good backup, but a very good option as a starter as well. He went 10 of 16, 101 yards through the air, and he didn't have any mistakes. I mean, no interceptions. So when you're not going to turn the ball over, you're going to make and you make good decisions, then you put your team in a position to be successful. Flipping onto the other side in the second half, quarterback Jordan Love really seemed like he settled in, and the momentum, it just started to roll for them.
Yeah, you really felt like once they finally had a big play and the crowd re-energized a little bit.
Because it was quiet in there for a while.
Quiet. Yes, you've never heard Lambeau quite that quiet.
Yeah.
They were booing them at halftime. I don't know if I've ever seen the Green Bay Packers fans boo their team at halftime. So things were going well for the Saints. But it took one play, the big pass interference play down the field, Jordan Love using his legs. He does have that ability, a big scramble here or there. He had a couple of them in the second half. And I think as those plays happened, you kind of saw that confidence and the momentum start to creep in onto their side. And when you have that momentum, it's up to you on the other side of the ball to stop it. And Saints just never did it as the game went along.
Yeah. Well, Love, he led the team with 39 rushing yards, so he was able to kind of create some plays with his legs. He went 22 of 44, 259 yards, a touchdown, and then he did have that one interception to cornerback Lonnie Johnson Jr., who came in. It was early in the third quarter. They were without 2 starters on the defensive side of the ball, without safety Marcus May, without cornerback Paulson Adebo. Lonnie Johnson, one of the ones that came in there, also the rookie Jordan Howden, and then we saw a lot of Isaac Yiadom.
Yep.
How did they do in their fill-in role?
I thought each one of those guys made plays throughout the game. It's just when you focus on games, you're saying, did they make plays at the end of the game? And Jordan Love started to heat up, and that's when you started to see him make more of the plays. But for the first 3 quarters,
he really went after Yiadom as the game went on.
Yeah, and no matter who you are, it doesn't matter who the Saints' number 2 corner is, you're going to get a ton of targets just because of who the Saints' number 1 corner is. That's just the nature of the game. You're going to have a lot of opportunities to make plays. But Jordan Love, he also had more time. He was getting more time as the game went along to find those open guys. Earlier in the game, he wasn't completing them or hitting them, or he had pressure in his face. And as the game went along, and another thing people don't really talk about is it's a different surface playing up there on Green Bay. When you're playing on grass, you saw a lot of people slipping. It really changes your pass rush technique and how you can get after the passer. I don't know, maybe Rashawn Gary was wearing different cleats because he didn't look like he had any problems. But the Saints pass rush just wasn't the same at the end of the game as it was early in the game.
Rashawn Gary, I think he ended up with 3 sacks.
Yeah.
He was all over the place. Definitely somebody that was tough to stop. But we knew that the Packers offensive line was going to be without their left tackle, left guard. But they played that way the week before. So they had a game under their belt with the new backups in, and it seemed like the communication was fine.
Yeah, no, those guys did a really good job. And this, you start to look at, like you said, all the people that were out on Green Bay. It felt like one of those games that this is one of those games that if you don't get it, you're really going to regret it, because they were without their all-pro corner, Jair Alexander, David Bakhtiari, their left tackle has been a Pro Bowler. Their number one receiver, Christian Watson,
Right.
Aaron Jones, running back. So you go down the list of really great players, and it just feels like even more of a squandered opportunity because of what they were playing with. But no, their backups on the offensive line did a really good job against the Saints D line. The Saints D line's been really good this year.
Yeah, it was tough. I know before the game you looked at it and you're like, okay, this should be an easy one for the Saints, but you got to play the game.
Absolutely.
And the Packers have not lost a home opener in 11 straight now.
Yeah.
So they play very well to start the season off. It does get very loud in there when things are going their way. Someone, though, on the defensive side that I think had a really good game was Alante Taylor, who was filling in both the nickel and the outside corner roles. He had 5 tackles, a sack, a couple of 5 pass deflections, and a quarterback hurry. He was just phenomenal. Wherever he was on the field, he was creating problems.
Yeah, he was everywhere. And I jokingly said on social media, this guy is the reason Chauncey Gardner-Johnson is no longer here. Chauncey's a great player, but I think when they drafted Alante, they saw a role for him, and they had a young guy, extremely athletic, but his coverage ability, his blitzing ability, his ability to tackle. I don't find DBs who are that big, who can blitz, who can do all 3 things, really well. And today, it was a shame the Saints didn't pull this win out, because I think he would have got a lot of national media attention and a lot of praise. And he still should, because he still played the game. It's not his fault that they didn't come out with a win. He did everything he could to contribute to that. So I thought Alante played by far his best game. It was amazing. Every time you looked up, he was making a play, and really happy to see young guys early in their career do that, because it can build confidence.
Yeah, I mean, he was out. It was back-to-back plays on press coverage, outside corner against Romeo Doubs. He had a pass deflection, broke that up completely, and then on the very next play comes in as nickel and has his first sack of his career. Yeah,
there's not many guys. Like I talked about what the things he does well, blitzing, covering, all those things that you want, but rarely can guys do that from the nickel spot, and then you say, now go to the outside and do it out there. A lot of times guys either prefer the nickel, being in the slot against those type of receivers, or they prefer being on the outside on the island. His versatility to do both is pretty incredible and a huge asset to the defense.
I think he was really excited to get the opportunity to get back outside. I don't know if he was really excited about just playing nickel all year, so I think he was trying to showcase that he can still do both.
Yeah, I don't blame him, because a lot of guys, they know that's where the money is, and their agents like it on the outside, because if you're a 1 or a 2 corner and you're out there playing against the number 1 and 2 receivers, the paydays are usually a little bit bigger. But his versatility, I give him a lot of credit. There's not a whole lot of guys that can go outside to inside and vice versa. It's amazing.
The Packers were really able to open things up, especially the middle of the defense throughout the second half. How were they able to do that?
Well, I think they settled down in their play calling. I think early in the game, when the Packers were calling plays, they were really worried about the Saints' front four. It was a lot of quick dink and dunk, safe throws, don't turn the ball over. As they crept in and got a little closer and the game became winnable to them, you saw them open up the offense more. Just kind of like we've seen the Saints do. You saw the deep in routes, you saw the timing plays, the back shoulder fades, things you didn't see early in the game, because it's about not turning the ball over. And today's game, it wasn't so much the Saints turning the ball over, it was penalties. The penalty yardage. But if you ask me the number 1 stat from today, the Saints' third down, it was just they couldn't stay on the field. I think it was 4 of 14. And if you're not staying on the field, you don't have a chance to score points, and the other team's on the field too much.
And third down had been a really good area for the Saints going into this game. They were 4 of 14 offensively, and then they allowed the Packers to go 8 of 18 on third down. So they weren't able to really stay on the field, and they had a tough time. Mainly, I think, the success for the Packers came in the second half, stopping them as the game went on. We can go back to the first half, if that's when things were going well for the Saints. We can talk about what was working there. And I think it was nice to see them get a touchdown for the first time in the first half, not only for the first half of the first quarter, and a tight end, Jimmy Graham.
Yeah, that was great. I think when you think, the one thing I know about Coach Payton, and Pete Carmichael's been here with Coach Payton a long time, is they like to set guys up to have success in places they played before. So I was thinking Taysom Hill was there. We're going to get some Taysom Hill time down there. But Jimmy Graham, it was so great to see him score the first touchdown. And he even did like a semi-Lambeau leap. Like, are you going to accept me or are you going to throw me back? And
they kind of did.
Yeah, they kind of did. Green Bay Packers fans
are
nice. Yeah, it's pretty cool to see Jimmy back in the Green Bay uniform. I wish he could have been in a Saints uniform all these years. I wish he wouldn't have had all those different stops. It would have been nice to keep him in a Saints uniform. But no, that was great to see. Early in the game, success throwing the ball, scoring touchdowns. But the play of the game, in my opinion, I think a lot of people would be Rashid Shaheed.
Yeah.
I mean,
you feel like he's always has the ability to break one just because of his speed, and it was going to happen. Now he's never going to get kicked to for the rest of the year. But a 76-yard punt return for a touchdown.
Yeah. Those plays like that, explosive plays, I remember we always talked about kickoff returns and punt returns, and somewhere there's a stat that shows you have like a 90% chance of winning a football game if you get one of those in a game.
Really?
Yeah, it's amazing because they don't happen very often. I think there were 1,000 punt returns last year and maybe 2 for touchdowns. It's extremely rare in the NFL that you see kickoff and punt returns for touchdowns. But it's just you get him into the open field, make one man miss. And credit to all the guys who were blocking. They did a great job. No penalties on the play because a lot of times you see penalties. You see guys, they don't want to be the guy to miss their blocks so they're grabbing and reaching. But once Rashid gets into the open field, you know it's over. He does so many. We talked about Alante with versatility. Rashid's versatility is amazing. As a young guy, you thought, well, he's a jet sweep guy, a gadget guy. And then he emerges into a really, really good wide receiver, and now he's one of the elite return guys in the game.
Yeah, he's been a big threat so far for the Saints, and they're finding different ways to use him, not only in the receiving game, obviously came in as a specialist. So it's been fun to see his maturation from his rookie season until this year. I'm hearing that we're going to get quarterback Jameis Winston soon at the podium, so we'll keep an eye on that. I don't know what's going to happen with the quarterback situation. But the next game is against the Bucs.
Yeah.
How much do you think Jameis would like to play that?
Jameis would love to play against the Buccaneers. No matter where you are in your career, it can be 10 years since you played for the last team.
Yeah.
There is just always something a little extra. Like, I am going to show you that you were wrong and you gave up on me too early. And I'm sure for him it's even more personal. He was the number 1 overall pick. Probably thought he was going to be there for 15, 20 years. And nobody knows what Derek's injury is, but one of the worst things you can hear is shoulder injury to your throwing arm, no matter what it is, serious or not, even if it's not very serious, those are tough things to come back from. So it wouldn't surprise me if Jameis gets a lot of the practice reps this week and has a chance. But like we said, there's a lot of teams that would love to have Jameis in there at quarterback. And I think this team's confidence will remain really high with him there.
You mentioned that he used to play for the Bucs. We talked about, tight end Jimmy Graham used to play for the Packers. The last time he scored for the Saints was in 2014.
Wow.
It's wild that he is still able to do it.
It is. It really is. It's first of all, the years go by way too fast, and I would like to know if the last time he scored a touchdown was that pre the Jimmy Graham rule when dunking over the goalpost. Did he rock a goalpost? I'm sure he did, but that's a long time. And like I said, I know a lot of Saints fans. I'm sure Jimmy too. If he could have been in a Saints uniform for the last 10 years, I think his numbers would be Hall of Fame status, and I think he would be right there with.
Initially, is Derek okay? And hopefully he will be fine. And the second thing is I'm prepared for this opportunity. I've been there before, and I was ready.
How tough is it when it starts to feel like the momentum is going back the other team's way?
Yeah, I mean, we all are getting better week to week. So we're going to build on the positives and eliminate the negatives. Well, this is a great environment. Everyone in that locker room was grateful to be in this environment. And like I said, we getting better, and we going to build on the positives and eliminate the negatives.
You were in a similar situation a few years back. Obviously, the knee injury got off the field. You don't know what the next step might be. But, how do you kind of manage that?
Well, you just stay ready, and you encourage the guy like Derek, make sure he's okay. And that's where my concern is right now. This team, we will be fine. We are ready. We're prepared. We have great leaders on this team. So that's the main thing, just making sure that Derek is fine.
James, I don't know if you ever had a full array of weapons. What can you do with this if you don't start bringing up?
Well, just take advantage of every opportunity that's given out there. We have some great players You know, the Saints have historically had great players. Now it's just going out there and execute.
Does the mentality change a little bit, though? You know, you have a guy like Chris and Chi and Mike and Alvin and Henry and just a lot of different places you can go.
Yeah, when you go into every game, the mentality is to win. And as long as we're winning, that's when it's fun.
James, look, I know this is obviously disappointing, but in the last 2 minutes, you took the team down the field and got them in position to kick what, might have been a game-winning field goal. Do you, because of that, maybe feel good about what you were able to do in the fourth quarter of this game? I know it's disappointing, but do you feel good about that momentum, maybe?
Yeah, the goal is to win. And we win together as a team, we lose together as a team. And we're going to build off that, and we will be better. Yeah, I mean, we've been here before, I believe we are prepared. We have a tough division opponent next week, and this is a great opportunity for all of us to just be accountable for ourselves and come closer together as a team and go out there and execute and get a win.
Look, I'm sorry, I don't know if you were asked this. We came in, we got lost in the whole thing. Were you able to talk to Derek Carr at all? Did you get any feel for how he was dealing with this?
I didn't see him, but I know he's a warrior, and I know he'll be fine.
What did you see on that play where he went down?
I just saw I had to get my helmet. That's what I saw. And I know, again, he's a warrior, and when he didn't get off the field, my main focus is how is he doing, and I'm ready.
The Derek Carr injury puts a kind of dark cloud over everything, but how ready is this team to have out of where that?
Oh, this team is definitely excited to get AK. I think he was definitely a part of our team that we've been missing. He adds electricity to our team. I'm just happy. I'm going to be happy to see him in the building and to be able to work with him. I mean, anytime you get an opportunity to work with a future Hall of Famer as he is, you get excited.
James, you've been in this situation that Derek has. What goes through your mind as you're leaving the game? Are you thinking about what's happening in the game? Are you thinking about what's going to happen to you the rest of the season?
No, you focus on building on the positives and eliminating the negatives.
Even when you get hurt, like when you left, like with your ACL injury, like what was going through your head as that was happening?
Get healthy, and do what you can to be there for the team. And I know that's what he's going to be doing, getting ready.
How would you describe? Look, I know it's disappointing, but you've been through a lot of these. To have the games, to be up like that, heading into the fourth quarter and to not win it. How disappointing is that one? Does this one hurt more than let's say a big loss would?
I believe that I was prepared for this opportunity, and I believe that as a team, we know that we let this one slip away, but we will be resilient. We will persevere. Right? That's the game that we play. We love this game. Sometimes this game doesn't benefit us the way that we want, but in that room over there, this is a bunch of warriors. This is a bunch of resilient men, and I know we will bounce back.
Anything else?
All right, thank you.
There was quarterback Jameis Winston, and of course he said well wishes to Derek Carr, but if he needs to be, he's going to be ready. How much different does it make you on a game day when you're able to take those first team reps throughout an entire week of practice?
Yeah, it really makes a huge difference. I think a lot of times, sometimes you'll see guys come in and there's no pressure on them in the middle of a game. And they're just like, well, the coaches have little expectation for me because I didn't get any reps. I'm just going to go out there and let it fly. And sometimes guys play really good doing that. But when you talk about throughout a week, and in your normal work week, you're going in and you're studying, you're prepping, you're getting all the audibles. And there's no position like the quarterback position. You have to have all the audibles. You have to know where to set the protection for the offensive line. You have to know the hot route, all these different things. So if you're not doing that, you're usually playing scout team, running the other team's plays off a card. And no matter how much you've played, that week of preparation really makes all the difference in the world to get your timing for the game right.
All right, so that is definitely a storyline we'll continue to follow. We'll see how Derek Carr is doing as the evening goes on. And then, of course, Jameis Winston said he'll be ready if he is the one that has to go next week. Final thoughts on this one, maybe just a couple things that you'd like to see the Saints address before their next game.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lost opportunity for sure. You're going to look back and a W is a W and an L is an L. Nobody's going to care how you get those things. And you always look at games like this and you hope they don't haunt you. There's a lot of football game to be played. But I think now you face some adversity. Everything's been going really good. You were 2-0 on the season. You were up 17-0 at Lambeau. Everything is really good. Everything is fun to get on social media and do those things when all the things are rolling. Now I'm excited to see how this team bounces back. You faced your first major adversity of the season. What does the first quarter and the first half look like against Tampa Bay? I think if you come out and you're on fire and you have the energy like you've had, I think it's a great sign for the team that you were able to overcome adversity.
It has to help that they're at home, too.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because
the dome needs to be rocking.
Yeah. I mean, because just like the Saints, the players, the organization tells the Saints players, hey, it's a 24-hour rule, get over it. You kind of have to do the same thing as a fan. As a fan, you get to lick your wounds a little bit longer because you're going to turn on TV and they're going to be talking about it all week. But at the same time, you're right. That energy in the dome can be electric. It can get this team out of a funk if they're in one. I don't think they will be. It's a divisional game. You know, your main goal when the season starts is to be NFC South champions. Because if you're NFC South champions, you're going to host a playoff game. That means you're going to be in the playoffs. So your main goal right now is to get back and think about winning the NFC South.
It is early in the season, 2-1 now for the Saints. There is a lot of time ahead of them, and the next division opponent is next week against the Tampa Bay Bucks at home in the Superdome. We're looking forward to that one. Thank you so much, Scott Shanle, for John DeShazier, who is in Green Bay. I'm Erin Summers. This has been Saints Postgame Live. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you again next week.